never really the plan that we have, that I'm going to go from here to here. I'll tell you, my career did not go like that. I worked in the mayor's office, as I said, Mayor Ginther's office, for 8 years. I started as his director of communications and then was a deputy chief of staff. It was an amazing job. You want to talk about connections? Boy, did I make a lot of connections, and I talked to people every day, all day long. My poor husband, when I would get home, I'd be like, I don't want to talk anymore. I'm not talking. But 8 years was a long time, especially the last 4. I was there 2020 through 2024 as a deputy chief of staff, and that was just a lot. There is a reason that those jobs are not lifetime jobs, because they are tough. And it was. When I say it's 24/7, I meant it. I said that to the person who took over my job when I left, and she said, I had no idea it was going to be 24/7. I said, I wasn't kidding. It really was. Not unusual to get phone calls in the middle of the night when anything happened, talking to media. I had to answer media questions about Stormy Daniels. That was fun. In the middle of the night, CNN found me at home to ask me questions. And it was like, I don't even know what's happening. So that was that. After 8 years, I left. And I went to Experience Columbus. But what I was really doing, it was something that was happening in the city with a couple of organizations. There were big strategic plans that needed to be explored. And there was no one to do it. There was not one staff person to do it. So I was actually working for Experience Columbus, Franklin County Convention Convention Facilities Authority, and DCI, or Downtown Columbus Inc., which if you guys were here a few weeks ago, Greg Davies was here. He's the CEO of that. So I was working on 2 things that were very similar, and it had to do with the growth of Columbus. The Franklin County Convention, let's just call it CFA, Convention Facilities Authority, sells the convention center and the hotels for business, or for events and sporting events, things like that. Experience Columbus sells all of Columbus, but they're also using the same facilities. So we had 2 organizations that at times are working, competing against each other, and that was never meant to be. So what I was working on was getting them together. Could we share KPIs? Were there ways that we could coordinate and collaborate a little bit better? Those conversations are still ongoing, and an ongoing theme is preservation over innovation. The minute you say, let's talk about streamlining things, people want to shut the door and say no. And that's not what we were doing. We really wanted a lot of input. So those things are going on. The other part, Trevor knows about this, he's followed this. I was working with the downtown SIDS, or with that concept. Are y'all familiar with SIDS, Capitol Crossroads and Discovery District? Okay. A SID is a special improvement district where a group of property owners within a certain boundary decide that they want to assess themselves, tax themselves, and those funds are used for specific projects within their area. So in downtown Columbus, there are 2. One is the Discovery District, which is where we are right now, and the other is Capitol Crossroads, which is the western part. Both of those have been here since 2020, I believe. Capitol Crossroads has for sure. But as the city grew, they expanded into areas like marketing and events and research. Downtown Columbus Inc., which was formerly CBDC, Columbus Downtown Development Corporation, was already doing that. So we had a need for more safety and cleanliness, which is what the SIDS do, and DCI was already doing marketing. So we have spent the last year in very intense and sometimes not friendly conversations about finding ways to merge or do services, work together, collaborate on that. And the board has approved contracting with Safer Downtown, which is a wholly owned subsidiary by DCI. Safer Downtown works on 3 main pillars. Let's see if I can remember them. They are security, technology, and cameras, communicating with partners, and then also environmental design. With all of the construction and changes that are going on downtown, with Capline, buildings that are going from office buildings to condos, things just being built, we want to make sure that we are not creating spaces that are ripe for crime. We want to make sure that places are well lit, that nothing is blocking views from buildings. And it's something that you take into consideration as you're building. It's a lot easier than saying, wow, that nook in this building really harbors criminals or criminal events. Very hard to fix that. We are working on it. We have almost 200 cameras now that we're able to look into all these spaces. So what's going to happen is the SID will remain in place, and both SIDs, and they will contract with Safer Downtown to provide the services. We will hire other folks to provide the safe and clean services. The safety services are safety ambassadors. I love our police department, I do, and I think they do a great job. But if you have a broken window, if you have a graffiti on your property, if you've had your car broken into, it's going to take a long time for them to get to you. And that's just a reality. There are not enough of them. And there's not a budget that would have enough to have a police officer on every corner if that was ever a direction we wanted to go, and it's not. So we can have ambassadors who are trained in de-escalation, that are trained in homelessness outreach, though we also have homelessness outreach folks that work with us specifically for the homeless population. And then they also do cleanliness. So things like weeding, picking up trash, spraying off the graffiti. They will do some stuff like, I love our public service department too. You know when they plow the streets and then the curb has this much snow and it's like, great, the street's clear, but I can't cross the street. The SIDS will, or the Safer Downtown will have folks, the ambassadors will come out and take care of that. Really, sometimes small things, sometimes big things, they really make a difference in the city, and I think that they're able to give a cleaner perspective. Yes?
One of the things that's been really frustrating in the past is that the things like you're talking about, specifically the ice thing, where the SIDS are actually digging it out, they do that in areas where they're contributing companies and stuff, but then you'll have lots of parking lots where nothing is done. So are we going to get more of a comprehensive coverage now? That DCI, it's kind of like all downtown and not just SID. Because a lot of downtown is not in those SIDs.
Yeah, we are trying, because the other thing that we need to do is reauthorization for the SIDs. Every 5 years, the SIDs need to get 60% of their property owners to agree that they want to be assessed. The current SIDs were unable to do that, and so we are working on a reauthorization process. We're taking that over for them. 2026 will be a gap year. It will not be a gap year in services. The city and DCI are going to pick up the tab for that for next year, and so the services will continue. We would love to get every property in Columbus to be able to be part of it, and it's important for exactly those reasons. And you see it more with things like that and with graffiti because you won't have coverage in one area. We are trying even to, if everyone's done a great job along a block, but one property owner hasn't, maybe it's a vacant building, maybe it's an out-of-town owner, and we all know that happens. We can come in, we can shovel that, we can take care of that. And we can also, work with property owners and say, hey, your parking lot's not clear, your sidewalk's not clear, you've got to do this for safety. So we have a little bit more power and a little bit more push, but we can also get out there and do it with them. But that's a great question. And it's something that maybe we're not thinking about it today because it's going to be 80 degrees, but in another couple of months, it's going to be a problem. Dog waste is another issue, right? No one wants to see that everywhere. And so we have stations for that, and we also have ambassadors who will go through and clean them up. There are 3 public restrooms in Columbus. We will, and they were built by the city, but we will make sure that those are maintained and they're clean. And however you feel about them, they are a great asset. If you've been on Coda or you're at a restaurant and you've left and suddenly you need to use facilities, everything around you seems closed, they are very clean and very safe, but we have to keep them that way. Did you have a question? No? Okay. So the long story of that is I will be the executive director of Safer Downtown. You guys are one of the first people to know. I don't know when we'll formally announce it, but thank you. I'm not sure that it's a great, no, it's great. It was never the plan, but things moved as they do, very, very slowly, lots of conversation. It's not going to happen. And then all of a sudden the board approved it and it's like, okay, we're moving now. We need to get in, we need to get this set up. So that's what I've been doing for the last several months. And it does help organizations like Experience Columbus, because safety is critical to any downtown, right? We can't invite people to come here for a conference if our downtown isn't safe and clean. So there's a lot of coexistence that needs to happen. There's also Short North. Short North has a lot. They have a SID. They also have a business district that goes with that.
So far, with the surveys that I do with Experience Columbus, because as these people come in from all over, sometimes the world, we try and get feedback on safety, and so far they're saying it's pretty good. The Short North is, we kind of warn people that they need to, be home at a certain time or whatever, but so far it's been, pretty good.
And we want to keep it that way and maybe even make it better. There are problems with car break-ins, and there are groups of, and they are children, they are usually under 18, who will go to parking lots and break into 50 cars. They are looking for guns. And so we try to tell people, don't bring your gun, don't leave your gun in the car. And then sometimes it's money, sometimes it is folks who are homeless and are looking for money, change, a blanket, a sweatshirt, anything else. That's a challenge, but CPD is working really hard on that. Sometimes it's a matter of just parking an abandoned police car, not abandoned, but a police car that isn't manned near one of those. Then folks will go, it doesn't stop the problem, but it will stop the problem from happening there. Trevor.
So the Short North has done their little assessment where they're going to be adding a little tax that goes back to the neighborhood for things like safety and everything you're talking about. Do you foresee downtown at some point ever doing that?
Oh, no, because I think we have the SIDS. If the SIDS were to go away, maybe we would. Short North is a little bit interesting. What's good about taxes like that is that it's taxing the people who use the restaurants, the businesses, the retail, and a lot of times it's out of town people.
And it's covering the whole Short North.
Yes.
Again, we have SIDS, but then there's downtown,
And that's very true. It's something we could consider. Nobody wants new taxes, especially if you're talking about property taxes. And this does end up, the SID tax assessments end up on your property tax. It's not huge. Depending on the size, there is a cap to how much you pay in a year. But I think it's really interesting. What you may not know, and Lou, I'm sure you do, is about bed taxes. That if people come in and they stay at any of our hotels, there is a fee that's put on that, and it goes back to Experience Columbus, Greater GCAC, the Greater Columbus Arts Council, and also to Human Services. So it's helping with homelessness outreach. What we love about that is that it's taxing people who are not from here. And so we're not adding burden to the folks here in Columbus. So that's great. Hoteliers hate it, right? Which you can understand. There's always a yin and yang, but I think most folks are pretty good with it. Yes.
So in the Discovery District, I live over at the Topiary, so it's really a hot place right now. Are they going to be, is that the assessments, are they going to be into property taxes at that point, or do you think there's going to be another entity to kind of keep that up, as far as the safety and homelessness and that whole outreach thing that's going on in that area?
Are you currently assessed in the Discovery District?
I don't know.
I bet you are. I'm thinking that you probably are, and that won't change. We know Topiary Park is, it's a beautiful place, but it's also a place that overnight we have a lot of folks who are experiencing homelessness who will stay there, they will use drugs there. And it's partly because, first of all, it's a great space, there are benches and so forth. It's near the library, which is terrific. The library is very, very good with our homeless population. But it can be frightening for residents, and usually people are homeless because they're experiencing mental health issues or addiction issues, and often both. There aren't a whole lot of people who just say, I think I'm gonna live outside. It just kind of happens that way. So we intend to keep that safety. We have had our homelessness outreach person, we have one person right now, we'll have 4 by the end of the year. They've gone over and talked to the folks, and there are 3 that stay there regularly. And we don't want to just say, well, you need to move on, right? We want to say, what can we do to get you into permanent supportive housing? And that usually involves getting a birth certificate or a driver's license, and finding out what their needs may be. And sometimes they don't want to go into a shelter system because they can't use drugs or alcohol. They can't take pets, and a lot of times you can't have your partner with you. So that's.
So where do they go? Where do they, because I mean, in the morning, there's benches, everything, it's like a bedroom out there.
Right, and then they leave during the day.
Yes.
Hopefully they're going to one of the churches to be covered. They can go to shelters during the day or overnight. Sometimes they do go in the library. There are places where if you see a couple of folks who are experiencing homelessness, there will be more that come because they say, oh, look, that place is safe. They're not getting harassed.
It's just when it's cold, they just always want to get everything.
Yeah. The city does do, with help from a lot of nonprofits, 4 or 5 warming centers where you can be overnight. They're not really meant to be, shelters full time, but where you can be there during the coldest part of the day. And we also do things with our recreation and park centers during the hottest days where you can go and stay there in air conditioning. Usually there's snacks and water and restrooms and things like that.
Thank you.
Sure. What other questions do you guys have about anything? Yes?
So 2026, we're not funding
Right,
the SIDS.
right.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, my property taxes probably aren't gonna go down, are they?
Well, your assessment won't be there, so that part of it won't. We will ask residents if they would like to pay their assessment. They can pay it directly to us. It can't go through Franklin County Auditor. But we will have the funding to be able to provide all the services. We will have full funding for full services. But it's not a huge amount for most residential property owners. So they won't assess it. I don't know if you're going to notice that there's a huge dip in that. I know.
It actually will, so it actually will go down.
It should, yes, yeah. We're
Maybe
not
it did
collecting
already.
it. We can't, it's because the SID will no longer be authorized, that money can't be assessed. But it will start again in 2017 with a 3%, one-time 3% increase for 5 years. So we won't raise it again until 2031 when we start to reauthorize it that way.
One thing, this is just a pet peeve of mine, but, and this giant eagle thing just exemplified this so nicely. Half the city thinks that giant eagle is in Franklinton, and the other half knows that it's actually in downtown.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is probably an ongoing problem, but like, the Wikipedia site for Columbus, Ohio for downtown is a mess. Someone needs to clean that up. And I think DCI site actually has it right.
They
But
do.
Wiki has it all messed. It's like from 30 years ago. It's hilarious.
Well, you know what? We can all get in, can't we, and just change it?
Oh, yeah, you can. Yes.
I'll go make that right. And you are absolutely right. There is actually city code that defines what downtown is. And so, but people, when they talk colloquially, I can't even say that. When they talk, they will think, yes, everything on the peninsula is Franklinton. Some people think the short north is part of downtown. It's not. So those are things that we can work on and we can correct. What we're doing with the SID right now is we want to keep it, we're not going over to the peninsula yet because there's that river, and it doesn't matter that we would need to find a satellite office over there, but we are going to explore doing that. So it may be contracted for the next few years with some of the property owners, but it needs to make financial sense as well. The more people that we have in the SIDS that are agreeing to the SIDS, the more funds we have to do the services that we want. And for those of you who know, the SIDS were doing events and so forth. DCI does more than 300 events a year. So they've got events covered, and if there are events that folks want, they can talk to us about it. We can see about getting that on the schedule. But all the great things you see, and we don't do Discovery District as much as we should. We will change that. But all of the things that are undercurrent, there was the Bastille Day, there's a free concert tomorrow night at the Commons. All of that is DCI, and there's no reason that we can't be doing more of that over here as well.
So we're really unique because we actually live downtown. It seems like everybody else is from outside.
Yeah, but you all work,
This is how-
do you live downtown too? don't you?
Yeah, live downtown.
And you do as well?
I live in Old Town East.
Okay,
Yeah.
close, but not downtown.
Kingwood District.
Yeah. The 71 is our cutoff. Actually, I think Cleveland Avenue is, it's,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, I'm Marina.
Do you know anything about the Blue Note that's supposed to be coming downtown, the Jazz Cafe that's supposed to be going in a mansion on town?
I don't, but I can find out.
Is it just-
I can
it's-
see.
yeah, I can't find
and
the
it's
information.
There's one already, isn't there, out on,
Yeah.
Livingston? Right, yes, exactly. I heard the same thing, and then I haven't heard anything about it recently. So that would be fantastic.
Oh, we were
to
so
have
looking forward to that, yeah,
Yeah,
really. And, yeah, I can't find any indication that it's happening or anything.
and sometimes it can be a great idea, and it's like, yes, we're doing that. And then we know everyone's a little nervous right now to be expanding or doing anything.
How do we find out?
How do I find out?
How do you tell us about this?
I'll email you. I can find both of you, and, but I can let you know for sure.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I have a question. It's kind of random, I guess, but I'm from Chicago, but I've lived in Columbus for years, primarily close to downtown in King Lincoln. And like one just glaring difference that is so bizarre to me that Columbus has never had are grocery stores downtown. Like it seems like the Kroger I go to is one of the worst Krogers in America. I found it on a list. Yeah, it's on Main Street. I try not to go. And I go to Arena District just to like avoid that. You can run right over there.
Right.
So why aren't there's so much parking downtown.
Oh my God.
There's so much parking.
Too much
And
parking.
it just
Too much
sits there.
parking.
And it's like, why can't that just be an Aldi? Why can't that just be Kroger?
And that's a great question. We did announce a giant eagle that's coming on the peninsula. So it is a little bit further away. There is Charmy's that used to be Hills Market, but it's a pretty,
It's
I would
crazy.
do my, I would not do my everyday shopping there. I don't have that kind of money. I can go and, get a meal or whatever. It is a little bit of chicken and egg. They will say, well, there aren't enough people downtown that will support a grocery store, and then, people say, well, I'm not gonna move downtown if I don't have a grocery store. So we're working really hard to make that happen. I know of one other one, but I don't know if it's been announced.
Toro. Toro.
Yes, that one's, and that's gonna be great. That
What's
is a meat market,
Toro meat market.
primarily,
What is it?
but it's fantastic. It's called, is it
Have a
Toro?
location.
Toro Meat Market, yeah, the new Continental Tower, getting forth.
Oh, okay.
It's coming, it's gonna be a small grocery store.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's supposed to have a bar and a coffee bar, and it's
Okay.
just a little bit on
Okay.
meat, but it's supposed to have other stuff.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Yeah.
There's like
That
a
would be
Toro,
great.
like, down
On Parsons.
just south of Boston.
Right.
So this one will be right in the downtown area, but it is a problem, and it's one that we have to address, because they say that the average person will not want to go more than 2.5 miles from their home to go to a grocery store. For most people, none of this works, or it's really expensive.
It seems like a great project for Jeff Edwards, when he's building
Yeah.
this, all the, because there's a new, I go to Trinity Church too.
Mhm.
And I'm on Third and Rod. And so he's rehabilitated the PNC building, right? And there's Butcher and Rose, and then he's gonna take the parking lot on Third and convert that to a huge, like U-shaped condo building.
I think it's
Oh,
condos.
apartments.
I'm not sure, he has.
But I mean, if you
Is it
put like parking and a grocery store on the lower level, that would just like safety wise, it's much safer to have like businesses on the first floor,
Yep,
and not just a parking lot.
right.
Would just be a lot better. And a need, as we're all saying, we need some places.
Like, that's all Old Town East talks about, is
Yeah.
how there's we just have empty parking lots, previous gas users, and
Yeah.
that's a whole other thing, this is but, we just love grocery.
A grocery store, everyone needs a grocery store, and the Giant Eagle, they have been really smart on that it will be ground floor, but then there will be parking above it. So, we're able to build up but there are a lot of surface parking lots that we
Yes.
would like to get rid of.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So, you have to, again, you have to get the people to either sell them for development or agree to development. And sometimes that's a challenge. Yes,
Tried to warm you up with this question earlier, but what do you think Columbus needs to improve at that we're not necessarily recognizing enough?
well, we know the grocery stores.
Yeah.
I do think public transportation,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you've been to any other big city, and we're working on that with Coda. People talk a lot about Amtrak, I think that would be great, but that is at least a decade away. I would love that. I lived in San Francisco for a long time, I didn't have a car, I didn't need a car. And it's even better now because you don't have to hail a cab, you can do Ubers, you
Yeah.
can do that. But they have a really good public transportation, as New York and Chicago have. I don't need a car when I go to Chicago, one of my daughters lives there. And we fly because it's less time, right, door to door, and then we don't have to get a car. And we love that. I love having someone else drive. If I want to scroll on my phone, or if I need to do whatever, just stare out the window, that's great. You can't do that when you drive. Well, you shouldn't do that when you drive.
I don't know if anyone's talking about bringing back C-Bus or the Airport Express, but those would be two massive amenities for downtown.
Yes. I agree with that. When I was at City Hall, I used C-Bus all the time. My husband at the time was working for the state, and so he was down on Front Street. He could take it and go right by my office. We could go to the North Market for lunch and then come back. And we didn't have to take our cars and try to find parking and try to, so there are conversations about it. We would love to see that come back, and not, people have talked about it being, how it goes kind of north-south, maybe also doing one that goes east-west.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
It's
I
so
think it
awesome.
would be fantastic. And having it be free is really great. I don't know if we're going to get to public transportation being free as a whole. I know one of the candidates talks about that, Jesse Vogel talks about that. The money has to come from somewhere, so that's a challenge. But C-Bus, they could do, and I know why they closed it and why it had to close, but I've talked to so many people who say, I would love for that to come back.
So how close are we getting to that?
To that,
To bring it back, because that's one of the complaints that we do have for, Experience Columbus surveys, it's like, we can't get around.
yeah, you can't if you don't drive or.
Or they don't wanna ride their bikes or walk or something.
Right,
like
and
that.
we do have the great VOs, right? And they're
True.
giant fun, but I'm not gonna do it every day, and I'm certainly not gonna do it, I've seen people do it in heels and a jacket and a suit, right? It's just not gonna happen.
How close are we to?
We are-
possibly getting that?
They are, right now, Coda is very focused on Link Us. So they're focused on all of the things that they're doing. There will be a lot of construction that happens on the cap line as well. I keep nudging, others keep nudging, but I think they're so focused on that right now. It would be an easy one for them to do. We keep meeting with resistance too. The more we bring it up, the more they need to recognize. And it's really important. DCI has a goal, the mayor has a goal of having 40,000 people downtown in the next couple of decades. I think we have 13,000 right now. You know what would help that? Having transportation.
So there's build it and then they would come.
Yes, exactly, there we are again.
So-
But that one was already built.
It's also
So-
a way to bring people to the BRT.
Yes,
BRT is all going to be
absolutely,
downtown originating,
right,
bring people in.
absolutely.
Quick question, and I'm not sure if you know how to answer. Is it, what kind of a hurdle would it be if a private company were to want to come in and kind of operate some sort of a circulator like the C-Bus? Do they have to go through CODA? Because that's one of the challenges, I think, is that there's options, but who's the decision maker?
I think ultimately that would be the city. I think the city would have to decide that. And they would be conscious of wanting, not to make CODA mad, but if
Right.
CODA is not going to do it,
Exactly.
then I think that's a really exciting idea. I like the idea of why not have a private, and then it's that kind of public-private
The only thing we
partnership.
have is Easton, but it works.
Yeah,
I mean, it's something versus nothing,
yep,
you know?
exactly.
And I've been to many other cities where it does work as well.
It does, yeah.
For a minute, we had these little like electric golf cart thingies that would just do loops, and they were free. I don't know if you remember that.
I
They had like
don't.
advertising on them.
There
This
were
might have been-
even the
might have been pre-COVID.
pedicabs
Yeah, those
There are
things,
the petty
yeah,
thefts,
still are?
usually people
Okay.
are drinking on those.
Yeah, not the
But-
pedal
That's not
things, but
about
this was
getting
like,
somewhere.
yeah, just sort of a weird, but it was like a little two-person thing.
You know,
Like,
I don't remember the two-person, I do remember for a little while, and I think we were exploring electric vehicles at the time, and maybe
It was
even
electric.
self-driving.
Yeah.
And there were challenges with that, and then there's the funding of it, but I love the idea, but, you know, we are a big collective, collaborative city.
Yeah.
To get private investors, or a private company to come in and do that. I mean,
Well, if
essentially,
anyone's interested, I've been working on a couple of things related,
awesome.
and
Do you want us to
bits
set
and
a
things.
petition right now?
What's that? No, I have, through the CYP Club, we do a bunch of different community events. And one of the challenges we have are parking constraints, no matter where we have them. But we also have a lot of people who just, if there's not a ride to the place, they don't know the place exists. It's not just like calling a cab or getting an Uber, because you don't know that that thing is there.
Yes,
And when you're traveling, when you're a visitor, you definitely don't know it's there unless somebody tells you exactly where it is. So you can't just ride the trolley or ride the bus or whatever it is to check out the city. Anyway, kind of been talking about this for a couple of years, and I've gotten to know a couple of folks in the city council, but my thought process, as well as some of the other folks I'm working on, is who makes the decision? Because, you know, the conversations could be had with the C-Bus.
right.
But anyway, I'm just putting that out there. If anyone has any interest in pursuing or kind of, you know, especially from DRAC or some downtown, let me know. Because it's something that I've been working on for a couple of years, and it looks like it may actually happen in 2026.
So we have a business downtown?
I have, yeah, but not, yeah.
Oh,
I have a couple of different things, but yeah, one of those is connecting the dots with the right people who are in the business of making that happen, but they don't have the interest because they don't have the connections.
Are you talking about city connections, or, so,
Connections with city or is it an
with
organization?
the city and then within CODA? Because they may love the idea, because they're hesitant to do it, they're focused on us.
One of the main areas that I'm focusing on right now is city council.
Mhm.
There's lots of priorities.
Yes,
And
there
so,
are.
yeah, and with, you know, changes in budgeting for, you know, over the last few months or whatever it is, that challenges it as well.
It does.
So ultimately, you know, I look at this as like a public-private partnership,
Mhm.
but it's gotta be driven and led by someone, literally, not, you know, driving the bus, but. you know,
Right. Well,
And
that's
so,
true.
but it also needs a team, and it needs
Yes.
so that's kind of what I've been working on, but also I just have such a huge interest in it and have been since I moved here in 2005.
Mhm.
And,
Where'd you move from?
well, originally New York, and then lived in DC.
Okay.
So
Great
both of those
transportation.
have totally different transits,
Yep.
but at the same time, they're both really good for what they are. I mean,
Absolutely.
We're not laying any tracks, I don't think, but
Yeah.
there are lots of other options in other cities that have.
I mean, I think there's massive inner-city opportunities, like Columbus to Lancaster,
And I
Columbus to
think that's what it
Newark.
is. It's
You know,
like you
things,
need to
there's
get
there's
that
no
first-
bus, there's
that
no easy
first
way to
part
get
of
there.
it in
you
order
know?
to get those other to
They're kind of
connect.
bespoke.
Because, because ultimately that's where the domino effect happens.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just like a pipe dream. It's like, oh, okay, well, that would be nice, but, you know, if somebody were to start it, we jump on.
Mhm.
And somebody wants, so,
Yeah.
yeah. But reach out to CYP Club or me personally, and then if anyone has any interest or, you know, capability to kind of step in. Sorry, I didn't get to-
No, that's,
So, yeah.
it's a very, obviously. it's
But as you
a
mentioned, yeah,
area.
and specifically with you know, DCI and some of the other folks, I'm
Yeah.
also talking with, it's kind of like bringing a bunch of different things together.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you.
We were just in Cincinnati last weekend for a wedding, and we stayed by Mountain Square, but the wedding was at Rheingeist Brewery, which was a fun place to have a wedding. But we used the Loop, and you know, and I think that would be a good model to look at, because it's Cincinnati, you know, owned and operated, I believe.
And that's only been going for maybe 3-4 years.
I think it's
It's
longer
relatively
than
new.
that. I think longer than that, but they also tried the pay model. That didn't really work, and then.
The hop on, hop off works the best.
So I think there's
We even have one in the Surrey district for the holidays, don't we, for the holiday
well, when you,
travel?
when you close the street, but I think, you know, those kind of places are, it's hard to make it for profit. Sort of like our healthcare system, like
Right.
how it's not really working. I think that public transit, if it's not at least in large part supplemented by businesses and residents in that area, that it's really hard to make it profitable, right? It's just not,
Right.
but it does generate. You can't argue that it doesn't generate. You know, when New York, I lived in New York for 20 years, more than 20 years in New York City, and when they added the line, the 7 line, out to the convention center, it was a huge project. There were 2 big projects on the Upper East Side, like when they added the Q line on 2nd Avenue, changes everything. Real estate prices just go, whoo, you know, but who's paying for it? So, I mean, it has to be.
Those were taxpayer driven, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it couldn't happen if it weren't. You know, private's not going to work for that scale. But I think the same thing is probably true here.
I'm gonna find out who does it in Cincinnati,
Cincinnati, yeah.
because there's 3CDC, which is kind of the equivalent of what we have with Safer Downtown, DCI, Safer Downtown, and the SIDS. It's kind of a similar model and one that we're looking at, and I'm betting they're involved in some way, even if it's, let's get someone who's in private, to be able to do that.
There is a safety component to that. When you get people moving around the city and in mass, you know, it creates a dynamic where you have current running through. You can't have these eddies of people that are just like congregating. You
Right.
get people circulating.
Yep.
And that really, if you think of it like a bloodstream, I mean, I think it keeps everything healthy. Where you're like, you change the dynamic of the city that you're living in.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
All right, so we're at 9 o'clock, everybody. and
Pretty cool.
Round of applause for Robin's time.
And I don't have cards. It's rdavis@downtowncolumbus.com. Or find me at Experience Columbus. I'm gonna make it so that one transfers over. So, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys